Coronavirus deaths that averaged around 200 for over 2 weeks has relatively gone down to a little over 100 mark. Prohibitory orders in place in over 70 districts seem to have helped in the scenario. However, as COVID-19 cases still stand at around 7,000, all the members of public are still advised to abide by the government-imposed prohibitions and safety measures. Good morning, I'm Sarah Chitrakar and these are the headlines of the hour. Chief Justice Cholendra Samsher Rana forwards all 19 writs filed against the dissolution of the lower house to the constitutional bench. 106 individuals succumbed to COVID-19 while over 6,700 test positive. Government fails to benefit from health support extended by China. China denounces U.S. efforts to further investigate whether COVID-19 came from a Chinese lab, accuses the U.S. of political manipulation and blame shifting. And a leading doctor in Japan warns holding the Tokyo Olympics in July could lead to the spread of a variant of coronavirus. Organizers insist the Olympics will be safe and secure. All 19 writ petitions filed against the dissolution of the House of Representatives will now be heard at the Constitutional Bench of the Supreme Court. A single bench of Chief Justice Cholendra Samsher Rana forwarded all 19 writ petitions to the Constitutional Bench yesterday, saying that demands raised by petitioners need in-depth constitutional explanation. Petitioners, however, have continued with their demands to reinstate the House of Representatives, halt the election process and budget announcement through ordinance. The bench, however, refused to issue any interim orders to reinstate the dissolved lower house and halt the election process. During the hearing, Chief Justice Rana said that Article 76(5) of the Constitution had entrusted rights to the President to dissolve the lower house, however added that a constitutional explanation was required in the absence of specific guidelines. Some 30 writ petitions have been filed related to the dissolution of the House of Representatives, of which 4 writs have been filed demanding to appoint K.P. Sharma Oli as the Prime Minister in accordance to Article 76(5) of the Constitution. Speaker Agni Sapkota has warned any activities that devalue the reputation of the House of Representatives will not be tolerated. Speaker Sapkota made the remark during his meeting with constitutional and legal experts yesterday afternoon regarding the dissolution of the lower house. Sapkota also admitted of his feeble role after the Supreme Court reinstated the House of Representatives on 23rd of February and stayed clear of his future role at the Parliament. Other attendees opined the dissolution of the lower house was unconstitutional and claimed that only lawmakers and the Parliament could decide whether to dissolve the house. They also criticized the Speaker of his feeble role. Claiming the House of Representatives is still intact, Advocate Tikaram Bhattrai suggested the Speaker collect signatures from lawmakers of the dissolved House and recommend the President to summon the House session. The coronavirus crisis in the country continues amid massive second wave of the pandemic as 106 COVID-19 individuals succumbed to the virus yesterday, taking the national death tally to 6,951. Likewise, out of 20,414 samples tested through the PCR method, a total of 6,731 tested positive for the virus yesterday. According to the Health Ministry, there are 116,476 active cases in the country at the moment. Kathmandu Valley alone reported 2,367 new cases. Meanwhile, 7,226 individuals have registered full recovery, taking the recovery tally to over 418,829. The recovery rate now stands at 77.2%. Meanwhile, there are 1,009 individuals in various quarantine centers across the country. The relatives of a coronavirus patient have manhandled a doctor and a nurse at Bankes Bhedi Corona Special Hospital last night. After the health condition of Dilli Raut, who came to the hospital from Dang on 18th of May, deteriorated, doctors shifted him to a ventilator. After the patient died while receiving treatment in the ventilator, the patient's relatives protested against the doctor's decision to move the patient without their consent and manhandled the doctor and nurse. The police have informed that they have taken 2 people into custody who were involved in the incident. An investigation team has been formed under the leadership of Bankes Assistant Chief District Officer to look into the incident. Infection cases of a virus similar to coronavirus has increased in Gorkha's Barpak. 12 people have died in Barpak in the past 2 weeks due to the infection. 3 people succumbed to the virus on Wednesday in Barpak, Sulikot Village Municipality, Ward number 1 and 2. Out of the 12 people who were tested for coronavirus, 2 tested positive through the PCR method, while 1 tested positive through antigen. The Chinese government has shown interest in providing Nepal with health equipment, including life-saving oxygen cylinders in grant. However, the Nepal government has yet to take necessary initiatives. The scenario is as such that private sectors can easily procure oxygen cylinders into the country, while the government has failed to bring in grant materials. More in this report.
On Wednesday this week, President Vidya Devi Bhandari spoke to Chinese President Xi Jinping on phone and urged the Chinese government to support Nepal in its vaccination drive. In response, the Chinese president agreed to provide 1 million doses of coronavirus vaccines as grant to Nepal government. Prior to this, China has already provided 800,000 doses of vaccines to Nepal. The southern neighbor, in its talks with various political leaders, had also expressed its interest in supporting Nepal with its fight against the virus. However, despite the nation's initiative, Nepal government has failed to take necessary steps to benefit from the offers. On 3rd of May, China had announced of providing Nepal with 20,000 oxygen cylinders and other health essentials as well. However, the Nepal government has dilly-dallied in officially approaching the southern neighbor over various pretexts. The Nepal government has so far brought in 2,000 cylinders in 5 rounds, while 18,000 more cylinders are awaiting. Likewise, various other emergency health materials prepared by China as grant to Nepal have yet to be collected. Private vendors have imported 7,500 oxygen cylinders in the meantime. The government has attributed administrative procedures behind the delay.
चीनले नेपाललाई तपाईहरुलाई के चाहिन्छ हामी सहयोग गर्छौं भनेर उनीहरुले लेखेर भनेर पनि पठाएको हो र हामीले राम्रोसित हामीले प्रयास गर्यौं भनेर भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ उनीहरु सहयोग गर्न सक्छन् भन्ने कुरा त अहिले पनि देखिहाल्यो राष्ट्रपतिले भन्नेबित्तिकै उहाँहरुले 10 लाख खोप पनि पठाउन तयार हुनुभयो गम्भीरताका साथ हाम्रो तर्फबाट यो यसमा लाग्नु पर्ने हो त्यो नलागेको हो कि भन्ने जुन शंका छ त्यसलाई चाहिँ अब त्यसलाई चाहिँ यथार्थै हो कि भन्ने स्थिति आएको छ.
The ongoing second wave of the pandemic has yet to come under control. Health experts have already begun warning of a third wave that is certain to exhaust the health system once again. Given the scenario, there is a call on the government to take all necessary steps at the earliest to avoid any untoward situation.
Some 1,750 Nepali migrant workers have left for India through Srinagar and Gaurifanta of Kailali and Gadachauki of Kantipur in the past 9 days in search of employment despite the risk of coronavirus spread and prohibitory orders in place. They have also reported of having paid hefty amount to local transport services while local administration has remained a spectator. Travelers say local transport entrepreneurs have been charging exorbitant fares of up to 10,000 rupees per passenger. Despite ongoing prohibitory orders, individuals with Indian identity card and those travelling for treatment purpose have been allowed to cross the border to India through Gaurifanta and Gadachauki points. A total of 2,223 individuals left for India through these border transits, out of which 1,654 left in search of jobs. Meanwhile, Prithvi highway, deserted during the day due to prohibitory orders, has been overwhelmed with vehicles plying during the night time. Many vehicles, both long and short routes, carrying passengers from Kathmandu to several districts have been running on the highest during night. These vehicles are carrying passengers to and from the federal capital and have been reaching out to the customers through social media. As the local administration in the Kathmandu Valley has extended the ongoing prohibitory order for 1 more week, many people are leaving the capital due to safety reasons. The police in the highway say they are unable to control these vehicles during the night and are compelled to allow them to ply after ensuring the health protocols are followed. The share market continued to break records as it witnessed an all-time high turnover of over 14.75 billion rupees yesterday, despite a tight policy of Nepal Rashtra Bank. The stock index NEPSE meanwhile has decreased by minimal point. The market was expected to go down following Nepal Rashtra Bank issuing directives on Tuesday restricting banks and financial institutions to invest in shares of microfinances. However, the NEPSE went down by minimal 1.20 point yesterday to settle at 2,815.39 points. A record high number of shares at 41.8 million units of 215 companies were traded for a little over 14.76 billion rupees. On Monday, the share market had recorded highest intraday turnover of 13.17 billion rupees. Shares of trading, hydropower and development bank groups saw growth of over 3%, while shares of microfinance group went down by more than 3%. In our Public Voice segment, we had asked locals in Morang how effective are prohibitory orders alone in controlling coronavirus spread. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
चुनाव गर्नुभन्दा पनि प्रत्येक जनताहरूलाई खोपको व्यवस्था गरेर उहाँहरूको जीवन रक्षा गर्नको लागि लागि पर्नु आवश्यक छ।
निषेधाज्ञा र लकडाउनले गर्दाखेरि त्यति मात्रै गरेर कोरोना नियन्त्रण हुँदैन। यसको लागि चाहिँ सरकारले सक्दो चाँडो सबैलाई खोप अनिवार्य गर्नुपर्छ। खोप चाहिँ छिटोभन्दा छिटो जनतामाथि चाहिँ दिनु पर्यो। लगभग 2 हप्तादेखि लकडाउन छ। कोरोनाको संक्रमण घटेको छैन र मृत्युदर पनि अझ बढ्दो छ। मलाई के लाग्छ भने सरकारले भिडभाड हुने यस्ता चुनाव जस्ता कुराहरू नगरिकन सम्पूर्ण जनतालाई खोपको व्यवस्थापन गर्नुपर्छ।
लकडाउन गरेर मात्रै सम्भव चाहिँ छैन हैन। यसलाई चाहिँ सरकारले सबै नेपाली सबै जनतालाई खोप दिलाइदिए राम्रो हुन्छ।
कोभिडको भ्याक्सिन पर्याप्त मात्रामा जनतालाई जनस्तरसम्म पुग्ने गरी त्यो सम्पूर्ण रूपले सरकारले व्यवस्थापन गर्नुपर्छ।
घर घरमा कोरोना छ, लकडाउन गरे पनि एउटा मेम्बरले अर्को मेम्बरलाई सार्छ। त्यसैले गर्दा अब त भ्याक्सिनेसन बाहेक अर्को कुनै विकल्प देखिँदैन।
It's time now for our segment, Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. Here's the question: why has the government failed to bring in oxygen cylinders provided by China as grant? The options are A, no need for the time being, B, procedural confusion, and C, not in priority. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. That's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and take care.